couple of months ago now, we got the first look trailer for the upcoming Super Mario Galaxy movie, which serves as a sequel for the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which in turn was released in 2023, and now we have a release date and a second trailer. When the first trailer dropped, I was massively hyped and fairly confident the film was going to be good overall and was going to do big business. I mean, the first one was well and truly up against it, as video game films had always been extremely hit or miss. Sometimes they can be pretty fun and exciting, and sometimes they can absolutely suck and completely miss everything that made the video game so popular. For me, Mario managed to strike a really good balance, and whilst it wasn't for everybody, I had a lot of fun, and it made a whole heap of money, grossing well over $1 billion at the box office. Then we got confirmation of Super Mario Galaxy as the next film not too long ago, and that first trailer was just so amazing. We got a little bit of information as to the plot in that first trailer, with Bowser Jr. wanting to save his father from captivity, and a journey across the galaxy in various worlds to get him back by the heroes. Not only that, but they also showcased a lot of the different worlds the characters would journey through. However, there were still heaps that we didn't know. What other characters would we see, and what might the story entail beyond just their clash with Bowser Jr.? This second trailer, it doesn't really aim to showcase much more about the plot, but is instead there to build hype by showing off different characters and worlds the fans will be familiar with, and get them excited for the pending release. The film itself is set to release on the 1st of April this year, which is of course coinciding with the Easter weekend, so I expect it to do some very big numbers, especially since it doesn't seem to have all that much competition there as of right now. On top of that, it has a lot of momentum behind it as it's a known franchise, and had a very successful and popular first installment. All that is to say that I'm expecting it'll do just as well as the first installment, or at least in the same ballpark. I don't see any reason as to why it would decrease on those numbers, especially since in terms of the animated space, sequels and franchises are earning the big money these days. However, it's not just the second trailer of Super Mario Galaxy that we can take a look at. We also have a couple of clips that have been released since the first trailer dropped that I had no idea existed, and so we can take a look at some of those too. First though, let's dive into that trailer. We start off following Mario and Luigi as they ride bikes through a desert region. I love how they're actually wearing different outfits here to suit the terrain. Sometimes animated movies are not really going to bother with costume changes and that sort of thing, and will keep them in a single outfit, so it was really cool to see here, especially since they look so awesome in these ponchos. We've already seen some of this in the previous trailer, but now we get to see it more in depth. They're riding around, racing each other, doing tricks, and really just evoking a Mario Kart vibe. It takes me back to the good old days of racing around Calamari Desert in Mario Kart 64, or even more recently with Dry Desert in Mario Kart 8. I think it's those little touches they add that really enhance the viewer experience for a fan. It also weirdly made me think about pod racing in Star Wars The Phantom Menace. Yes, because of the terrain, but also because of the noises the bikes are making. The pair arrive at Tostarena Town and walk up to the people, who claim to have a blocked pipe of some sort. It's not a huge laugh out loud gag, but I love that when they all turned and pointed in fear at the location they need to go, that one of the villains was still shaking his maraca dramatically. I also really enjoy that even now that they're these bold adventurers going across different realms and worlds, they're still plumbers at heart. It just makes them feel a whole lot more endearing. They walk inside and reveal that under their ponchos they have fire flowers, which they both activate. I love that they kept the game sound effects for this, and their white suits look so slick too. I think my only real issue is that I get irrationally annoyed that they both destroy their ponchos by activating this. They just burn away, but why does this happen? Shouldn't their ponchos just shift to that same color scheme too? Why do they burn up and yet their plumber clothes don't? Are they trying to tell us that their overalls, gloves, and hats are just part of their bodies and not clothes at all? It's just a bit strange. As they go inside, the underground theme starts to play, and that's another thing I really love about these movies, that they can evoke so much nostalgia with their soundtracks and soundscapes and go out of their way to include those classic tunes that you know from the games. It really goes to show that the creators actually care, or at the very least, they care about what the fans would say and think. Without a lot of those elements, whilst I think the movies could be okay, they wouldn't have that same feel. We then get a Luigi gag as the pair walk through the darkness, only guided by the fireballs in their hands. Luigi's obviously frightened, but he's trying to psych himself up and tell himself that he isn't that scared guy anymore. This in turn leads to him turning and coming face to face with a Buzzy Beetle. I had no idea that these things were called Buzzy Beetles, to tell you the truth, and it is a bit of a weird name, but there you have it. He starts throwing fireballs and panicking, missing every single shot, and I just have to say, this is some of the most relatable content in the entire trailer. Every single time when I was a kid and I'd get the fire flower, I would just panic and spam whenever an enemy came out of nowhere or I got flustered. The pair make their way up some stairs and arrive at the block pipe, which they begin to clear only to come face to face with some sort of monster. Now obviously, since the trailer is titled Yoshi First Look, it was very obvious who this was going to be, but you still get that feeling of suspense simply because you're keen to see what he looks like. He busts out of the pipe, freaking out both Mario and Luigi, who prepare their fireballs, only for this sad and scared little whine to come out of the rubble. It was so adorable. Mario beckons him out slowly, and we get our first look at Yoshi's little face. And my god, it is everything I wanted it to be. Ever since I was a kid playing Yoshi Story, this little green dinosaur has been among my favorite characters in the world of Nintendo. Growing up, it was a toss-up between either him or Donkey Kong as my go-to characters in all those big roster games like Mario Kart, Mario Party, or Smash Brothers. Seeing as we got Donkey Kong in the first film, and I didn't much care for Seth Rogen as the voice actor, I needed Yoshi to be good. And what do you know? no, he was! We then move off from this to a showcase of some of the worlds our heroes are going to be finding themselves on. We start off with Mario and Peach together in one of those dark, lava-based castle areas which are filled with numerous different iconic booby traps. I tell you what, this one got my hackles up. It's the exact type of terrain that would have got me raging playing Super Mario Bros. On my Game Boy. It also seems that Mario is still not quite up to the level of Princess Peach, as he's flailing all about the place and is almost getting cut in half by buzzsaws with Peach dragging him along. I'm sure everybody's going to be very normal about this, although that being said, I don't recall too much annoyance about that the first time around. I think the brothers having this sort of incompetent, clumsy charm kind of works in their favor and makes them seem more like everyman type heroes, and in turn, it always ensures that it feels like they're in real peril across the course of the film. If you always had them in control and kicking ass, I don't think it would feel nearly as interesting, would it? On a lake, Blue Toad is eaten by a giant Cheep Cheep, which prompts Luigi to power up into a frog suit, which in turn allows him to kick the fish in the face and get it to spit out the toad. This is one of my highlights of the entire trailer, as it's really just a great showcase, both of the absurdity of the Mario world that they're leaning into hard with this frog suit, but also because of the animation here, which is incredible and funny. Seriously, just pause on the moment he lands on the fish. It is amazing! Look at the glistening of the water, the reflection in Toad's eyes. I've never really thought about Illumination having the quality of animation that really rivals the absurd visuals you sometimes see in the likes of Disney or Pixar, but now I'm going to have to reevaluate their position. I also really like that Luigi is getting his moment too. I think we all know that in the end, no matter whether it's the games or the films, that generally Mario is going to be the lead character and the one who ultimately saves the day. Their team is called the Mario Brothers after all. However, that doesn't mean that your sidekicks/side characters need to fall by the wayside either. You can give them feats, epic moments, and character development and make them seem really awesome overall, and so far that's what we're getting for Luigi in this trailer. We move on to what seems to be a casino where Peach is going toe-to-toe fighting Birdo. Did Birdo appear in the first film, or is this their first appearance? I don't think they're in the first one, but I can't be sure either. That being said, this scene looks pretty awesome visually, and I love the effect where everybody's on their side or upside down, as each different floor/wall has their own orientation and gravity. It makes for a very cool effect. This scene also makes it seem as if Peach is going to go off on her own, as she seems to be by herself here, whilst at the same time, there are numerous scenes of Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Yoshi all together. I wonder if maybe her storyline is going to link up with Rosalina somehow in their quest to try to find and stop Bowser Jr., whilst the four fellas simply try to survive traveling across different worlds with varying levels of success. There's a really dynamic and exciting action sequence where Mario, Luigi, and Yoshi jump across clouds, kick an ass, and then dive into a pipe, before things slow down and showcase the first meeting of Yoshi and Toad. It seems that in the Mushroom Kingdom there's some sort of fair going on. I wonder what that could be for. Maybe to celebrate the anniversary of the defeat of Bowser, or perhaps it's a jubilee for Princess Peach? Whatever it is, this is where Yoshi is brought to meet them, and he makes a pretty terrible first impression by stealing Toad's toffee apple. I can understand him being upset that this random dinosaur appears, steals his food, and he's just supposed to go along with it. I'd be pissed too. Now that I look at the scene a little closer, it does seem as if Mario is holding a present in his hand, so rather than those other celebrations I mentioned, I'm actually going to guess it could be Peach's birthday? Could that be why Bowser painted that weird picture of him and Peach and then showed it to Mario and Luigi? He intended to give it to her for her birthday and wanted some honest critiques? We then finish off the trailer with a little sequence that is very much classic Illumination silliness, but also with a hint of what's going to happen over the course of the film. Yoshi tries to stand up to a T-Rex and it rolls in his face for so long that he and Toad get terrified and scream and run away. As all of this is happening, Toad is holding baby Mario and baby Luigi, obviously in reference to Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. A little bit before my time, but they used to have a Super Nintendo in the after-school program I used to go to as a kid, and it was a lot of fun, so I'm glad they're including this. This of course makes it clear that at some point over the course of the film, Mario and Luigi are going to get turned into babies, and Yoshi and Toad are going to have to put aside their differences to try to protect them. I doubt this sequence is going to last all that long because you don't want your two leads largely out of the story, but there will be enough time for Toad to make peace because, as of right now, as we've seen in promotional materials, he doesn't really like Yoshi. This trailer was excellent and it did everything it needed to. I'm so damn hyped up for this movie, I can't wait until the 1st of April. That's always the trouble with trailers for me. When they end up looking really good, I get very disappointed the release is so far out. I think it will be amazing though. I have seen a little bit of chatter online about how they think they're doing too much and it's going to be too crowded in the film, but in all honesty, I think they're going to be just fine in that regard. Not every world needs a full storyline, you know? Sometimes they can just be flyovers for the heroes to quickly make their way across via montage or a quick action sequence. This is Super Mario. It's not Citizen Kane. Don't overthink it. If it ends up being bad, complain then, but I think it's way too early to wave the flag saying it's too overstuffed with content and characters. Now, with that trailer out of the way, there are a couple little snippets to take a look at as well. The first of these is titled Yoshi Chomps Back. It starts off with the introductory scene of Toad and Yoshi, but this time it shows a little bit extra, with Mario and Luigi walking up to greet Toad before Yoshi appears. The mid-section of this short is all clips we've seen before, with the finale being a chomp chain getting loose in Toad Town, with Mario and Luigi staring it down and puffing out their chests like big macho men ready for battle. Yoshi then jumps in and grabs it with his tongue and gobbles it up, before turning to the brothers and smiling. My god, this dude is such a cutie. I think Yoshi as a character is going to blow up when this movie releases. He's going to be everywhere and become a huge crowd favorite, even more than he is now. Across these trailers, he's just so far struck the right balance of cutesy, goofy, and cool. It's just a perfect addition. That isn't the only other snippet either. We also got to see what happens after Bowser Jr. attacks the castle to take back his father. Luigi hilariously tries to defuse the tension by introducing himself, only for Jr. to attack, and to seemingly kick Mario's ass in a really cool action sequence. It does make a lot of sense for it to play out this way, because you want the heroes to feel in peril early on, and have that challenge to overcome in the climax of the movie. Luigi then sweeps in and knees Bowser Jr. in the head before clutching his knee in pain, and yeah, this scene was awesome, although I'm fairly confident it's going to be followed by Bowser Jr. beating him down, as when you look at Bowser Jr. as he's being kneed, he didn't look like he fell down. The final clip I'd seen was actually of Rosalina. She's sitting down reading a bedtime story to the Loomers, and we get to hear her voice for the first time. She's being played by Brie Larson, and from what I can hear here, she's really good. I don't really have much of an attachment to the characters. I didn't really play all that much Super Mario Galaxy, so longtime fans might disagree, but I think she's going to be great. It seems that fairly quickly, characters such as Mario, Luigi, and Peach have become heroes of legend who are stories for children. Here, the Loomers are just absurdly cute. At first listening to Rosalina start a story about Peach, before demanding that she change the story to the one about the plumbers, even though they'd heard that one the night before. The design of these things is adorable, and so are the voices. They might be the cutest animated characters I have ever seen put to screen, and I'm keen to see how they're used in the actual story of the film. Is there going to be a lead one that follows her on her adventures? God, I'm so hyped up for this movie! Okay, before we finish though, I do want to try to piece together some sort of timeline as to what we've seen so far. We know that Bowser's painting something with the intention of giving it to Peach, that there's a party, and that Mario's bringing a gift. So I think they talk to Bowser at the start, then Mario and Luigi go off to the desert to meet Yoshi for the first time. When they return for Peach's party, Yoshi meets Toad, and this is where I think Bowser Jr. attacks them and they go off on their adventure, with Peach splitting off from them whilst Rosalina does her own thing too. I know that's a very vague sort of timeline as of right now, but we really don't know enough yet. Either way, I think it is going to be incredible, although, of course, those are all just my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the trailer? Do you like it? Hate it? Are you hyped for the second Mario movie? Maybe not? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.